Live. It is good to have you. Happy Friday, TGIF. Nothing too crazy, too long today. Wanted to get into a few things, including the Mets finally actually getting a win and salvaging one that was much more than just one as a number in the scorecard. This will officially go down as number 285 in your scorecard, 24/7, 365. Of course, Unfiltered Revolution, where you could get us, Apple, Spotify, everywhere you get your podcast, where most of you are listening now, belated, where we're live currently on Twitter or X, if you will. You can also catch us on Facebook, on Instagram. We're newly over there at Unfiltered with Casey Stern. And on the YouTube channel, which you could like, subscribe, comment, get exclusive content. Please head over there now. You could do that up in the bio on X at Casey Stern. As always, we're presented by our good friends at BetOnline, your number one source for all of your sports betting needs. They got the latest lines, odds, matchup reports for baseball, basketball, boxing, golf, and more. BetOnline continues to be the fastest and easiest way to get all your wagers. Live casino and card games, they're all available right from your phone. So get over the mobile device now and get to the website and use the promo code BELIEVE. It's BLEAV. It'll give you a 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. It is BetOnline, where the game starts as I get started here. Mets got a big win yesterday, would you not say? They were facing 0-6 and getting no hit all at the same time in the second game of that doubleheader. And pretty much everything has gone wrong for this baseball team over the first week. And they are not this bad. The first thing I want to say is, because I know I'm kind of the poo-poo guy right now with a lot of Met fans, and I want to just be fair and welcome you in and say this. I never said they were going 0-162. I never said there could be a terrible team. But the problem I have had is I don't know what Met fans expected, because the reaction to, albeit only 4-5 then games, 6 games into a 162-game season, the reaction stated to me that Met fans were so shocked and so surprised that how could this team start this terribly, because you thought that the aspirations should have been way higher for heading into the season. I guess my take was, and still is, that no matter what the sport is, and whether you're talking about the Mets specifically here or any team in this sport or any team in any sport, if they are a mediocre team and they look like an up and down team, right? They're going to have 8 out of 10 where they bring you in. They're going to have 1 and 8 in a 9-game stretch where they send you to therapy. Just like the hockey team whose logo is right above me if you're watching. It's the same thing. Now, while that team has a chance to sneak into the playoffs, I have no idea how in the Islanders, but they're there for now. I don't think the Mets will be there because, as I've said, as they head towards July and get towards a deadline, David Stearns didn't come in here to fix 2024. He came in here to somehow figure out a way to get you to compete with the albatross that the Braves now are on the National League East, in the fact that Alex Anthopoulos and his staff have created such a system and put together such great contracts and have such a great roster at the big league level that they're going to be around year after year after year. So David Stearns is in here trying people to create sustainability and winning and make that sustainable at a high level. It's not about 2024. But I get it. You're sitting there 0-5, facing being no hit. You got nobody in the park. And my God, now look, I'm down here in Atlanta now. I'm not in New York anymore. But I am so disappointed and ashamed of many of you people. Now, there are going to be some people who said, well, it was a doubleheader and I had work and I couldn't go. Or I had to pick up the kids and I couldn't go. Maybe they weren't on spring break this week, even though a lot of kids are. Or whatever the case may be. But if any of you could have gone and didn't go, when I heard yesterday somebody tell me the tickets were $8 because it's too cold for you, well, don't sit there in mom's basement, okay, on Twitter screaming about the baseball team if you don't have the balls to go spend $8 and go watch the team and care enough yourself. Seriously. The idea of what was going on in that park, and Gary Cohen depicting it perfectly, it looked like rock bottom 6 days into the season. My God. Now, I don't know how much different, even with the weather, things would have looked in that park if they're 5-0. But what a joke. That's a joke. Get to the ballpark. Seriously, that's pathetic. That aside, the offense has been pathetic, and that's why you're here. The irony is The fears about this team heading into the season, for me, were the lack of depth of starting pitching, especially with Senga hurt. Quintana having to start opening day. You already, even when McGill was healthy, had fringe guys who probably don't belong in a big league rotation trying to win, if we're being fair, in that rotation. And yeah, we knew without JD Martinez especially that there are going to be some depth issues, in the lineup, but that wasn't as big a concern as how you were going to get, for me, enough length and innings out of this starting rotation, and that is still an issue for me because, my gosh, you don't want to see Tonkin in the way he's pitched the first couple of days. You're going to see a lot more of the Tonkins of the world in there if they are 4-5 and dive every time a starter goes out there to pitch for this baseball team. But that was an issue. And that's not why you're sitting there now 1-5. And outside of what if Pete Alonso didn't hit a home run in the ninth inning yesterday in game 2 and Tyrone Taylor doesn't get a base hit, why you would have been 0-6. It's the hitting. They have not hit at all. They are, everything seems to be wrong. So you could go to Brett Beatty bunting in a spot where, I'm sorry, even though, he's not a bunter, they do enough PFPs. I covered this game for a long time. You should know how to bunt, but shouldn't have been put in that spot, likely to bunt. Fair assessment. Carlos Mendoza, early mistake. He's made a few in the first week. Then you got Marte out on his own bunting yesterday because he's sitting there basically telling you, I'm doing what I can to help the team. He don't have confidence in himself either. Francisco Lindor in the 8th inning yesterday in a 3-pitch at bat looked like he couldn't wait to get back to the dugout, and clearly that's not the case, but that's how it looks when you're gripping too tight and when you're tight and you're trying too hard, because it's not just the pressure of 0-5 and 0-6. It's 0-5 and 0-6 in New York for the New York Mets, coming off a disappointment last year with the size of his contract, and that's just an element. And that's just human element, which leads me to the part I was talking about, and I'll give them a plug here. My guys, Matt Ibanez and John Saponaro, if you're a Met fan, till Mets do us part, and hopefully they hear this and then I give them a shout out. I was on there yesterday, and they were asking me about booing your own players because Lindor, who had a great year last year, getting booed 5-6 games into the season for bad at-bats. And this is much more than a Met thing. This is an everyone thing, and everybody's got their own mode. And there are some in the past that have stuck out to me that just exponentially have pissed me off over the years. I remember Kenley Jansen, great career with the Dodgers, tremendous guy, went through all the hard issues, was great with what could you do? Gave everything he had. And no, he didn't save every game, but some of the playoff things that went wrong were either an 8th inning where he should have come in the 9th, or where he was going for more than a 3-out save. There were a lot in there, right? There's a lot of time Don Mattingly and then Dave Roberts didn't have anything between Kershaw and Kenley Jansen. And here he is when he makes his return the next year, and they're booing the hell out of him. I think he walked one batter, and they were booing him. And they had just won the World Series. Couldn't wait to get on him again. Never enough. There are some that it just does not make any sense to me at all. I can go to other sports and go to the Seahawks and Russell Wilson if I'm being fair. In his return, I don't care what he did in Denver. It doesn't matter with what he did for that franchise. You cheer and then you boo. But booing your own players, there are two sides of this. First thing, you have the right when you go into a ballpark to boo anybody you want. That is your right. Absolutely. You paid the parking. You overpaid the price. You paid for overpaid and overpriced parking to get into the building. You paid for the seats. It's your good hard-earned money. And just like you can boo at a concert, even though you probably wouldn't because you're enjoying it, and you could boo at a theater, even though you probably wouldn't if you're enjoying it, you can then certainly, if you're paying your tickets and your hard-earned money, go boo, as you could boo from home, of course. But I'm talking about being in the building. You can do it. There is no part of me, 0%, no bone in my body, that thinks there's anything wrong in terms of, you can't. You can. The question is whether or not you should. I'm not going to answer that question for you. I'm going to do what I did yesterday when I was talking to the guys about this. And the way I've always equated this over the years, on shows of mine why you should never boo your own players, and you take it as you will. You answer your own question. Let's take any job. Any job you or I can have, not a major leaguer, not an athlete, because we'll never understand what it's like to be there at the plate with 50, 60,000 in a building and millions watching and judging at home. Let's take a job like, for example, a bank teller. You're a bank teller and you've been a bank teller for years and years. And I walk up to the counter and I don't have much to ask you except I just need change of a 50. It's all I need. While you're sitting there and working on it, something you've done a million times, 100 people walk up and they're peering in over the counter, looking through the window. Then 100 more come in and they start booing. Then 1,000 more come in. They're yelling at you and screaming, "Why are you taking so long? What's wrong with you?" Thousands more are piling in. Suddenly, there's 40, 50,000 people yelling at you, and the TVs on the screen are showing millions at home. You're on national TV. How sweaty are your palms? How shaky are your hands? How long would it take, and how difficult would it be for you to count just $50 a change you've done a million times? Now imagine hitting a 98-mile-an-hour fastball. Now imagine hitting a 91-mile-an-hour slider, a curveball that dropped off the face of the earth, and do that in front of all those people. If you are booing your own players, and it's certainly within your right, and you're booing them because they're loafing, I get it. You're booing them because they're, fundamentally making mistakes that they know better than, and it's showing the fact that to you that they're just not prepared or they don't care. You want to do those things, that's okay. You want to boo them because they did something off the field, or they said, "I hate the fans," or made some comment in the press, or something that is outlying of all of the "I couldn't get a hit" or "I didn't make the pitch you wanted," and you want to do that, I can understand that as well. But if they are not having success and you think, and you kind of get the feeling, they are trying their hardest to have that success and are clearly more frustrated than you are with it. If you think booing the hell out of them instead of supporting and trying to lift them up is going to get them closer to your goal, and what do you want selfishly? I want them to get hits. I want them to drive in runs. I want them to do what I need. I'm the fan. I want them to do what I need. If you think booing them is going to get them closer to doing that, you're an idiot. You are a moron. And it's okay. You can go about your life and be just fine, but just know, may not say it on your license, I am a moron. Because there's no way that will entice or help a player to play better. Now, on the road, when they get booed from other fans because they know that they're coming in there to do their business at that ballpark, that can certainly lift them up and entice them and give them some extra energy and motivation. But from their own players, their own fans, the fans they're trying to create a relationship with, the fans they are carrying and gripping the bat so tight because they want to hit 4, that is never going to net you more success. And the idea that it would is completely dumbfounding to me and always has been. Makes no sense. Mets not the only ones off to a bad start at 1-5. But Marlins 0-8. Not great. You got some on the other side like the Pirates who are sitting there 6-1, but now we'll welcome in the Orioles. A little bit of a litmus test for them. A lot of big series coming up this weekend. Dodgers back in action. The Yankees get their home opener. Teams opening up at home. Dogs and cats living together. Mass hysteria. We'll cover it all right here on Unfiltered, where you can now, again, get us on Instagram. We're new over there. Please come on, give us a follow at Unfiltered with Casey Stern. Get over to the YouTube channel for all the content. Like, subscribe, and you can see all the videos going back, not only recent interviews like with Ariel Helwani and Rex Chapman and guys like Mark Feinstein and Jim Duquette, but all the way in the Wayback Machine with the Matt Hollidays and the Dusty Bakers and many, many others. You can get all of that over on Twitter or X at Casey Stern up into the bio, and click over. Our YouTube channel is at Unfiltered with Casey Stern, where we will see you next time. As always,